So as I mentioned in this outcome study that we did, right, we have several domains that were acknowledged in the study that participants identified being in recovery. And so these 5 domains that were identified were mental health, substance use, education or employment, family relationships, and housing. So what are some of the aspects of residential treatment that you feel contribute to these successful outcomes in the long run?
Not to speak to all domains, but I would reference the family education and support calls as being hugely important in, readying someone, for a successful outcome. Having a support network kind of runs across a lot of those things. Being able to stay sober, having, some measure of control over your mental health symptoms, like having that support network and an understanding and effective communication with your family or whoever your support network is, I think is hugely important for that. So again, I reference FES. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but there's that.
It's important.
Other things that I think would really be important that we do at the Commons, side by side, ADL support, and ADL stands for Activities of Daily Living. That is something that for some of our guys that come in, when they leave the Commons, it'll be their first time living independently. So there are things like cleaning up after yourself, cooking. These are things that people frankly need to learn.
Sure.
And for people that have had that experience in the past, a lot of times what we find is when people have really been out there struggling, whether it's through active addiction or if they've had challenges associated with mental health, a lot of the times like keeping up after yourself or cooking meals for yourself, keeping it clean, like keeping clean surroundings, that's one of the first things to go.
Yeah.
So getting back in those healthy habits we find to be really useful.
Yeah.
For success when you get out there. And lastly, or at least last for this discussion, I'd probably point to the work that we do with our vocational team. And again, some people come to the Commons and they've had years and years and years of work experience.
Yeah.
For some people, that experience is a lot shorter.
Sure.
So being able to craft a resume and being able to work with the vocational team to see what's out there for opportunities, whether it's going to school, going to work, or volunteering, I think is hugely important because that's work that you can do while you're still in residential treatment, so that when you actually you open the door to your new apartment, you don't have to start the process then.
Sure.
You can have numbers lined up, or you can even have you can have a start date at school. You can have all these things ready to go, but it's work you can do while you're in treatment.
Yeah.
So those would be the ones I'd sort of point out as touching on those domains of recovery.
Yeah, you make a good point around starting the vocational aspect early, and including the volunteer as we do in our residential, but also really helps participants to start thinking about defining purpose and what they want to look for in terms of adding back into their life, whether it's school, work, volunteer. So I know sometimes that can be hard when people first come to treatment to think about down the road, really, far down the road, what is it that I want to do? Who do I want to be? But I think taking those small steps like we do seems to be really helpful to help participants identify their strengths and apply them to what they might want to do.
The vocational thing in particular can be a really big worry for a lot of people.
Sure, yeah.
Whether it's, I've never had a job for myself and the worries come along with that, or a gap in the resume, which a lot of times when people come to us, it's not all that unusual that there is that gap in the resume. So being able to work with the vocational team could be as simple as role-playing interviews where how am I going to explain this? Or having the vocational team there actually support you through some of that interview process as you are seeking employment.
Yeah.
We've found a lot of success with that because it's pretty common concern that people have.
Yep, absolutely.